All right. So, questions about the specifications document? Okay.
Is it advisable to go over some of the things that you said? I mean, obviously you're building off the things that you said in the requirements document.
Mm-hmm.
Is it advisable to just use the requirements document and then add on to it?
Well, I think definitely.
Okay.
Because understand the difference. The requirements document says this is what I plan to do.
Right.
The specifications document is this is how I will do each of those.
Okay.
So it's the algorithm, the pieces that you will need to follow, the paint by number you'll follow to actually implement it in the next stage, which is going to be your implementation.
So like going off of that, you have like, say you had the idea and then like the explanation, and then what you would add on under the when you put under the explanation how you would do it.
Yeah, the 8 steps, the recipe for, like I used the example last time, making a lasagna. If the requirement was, I will have a prepared lasagna, that's your requirement. Underneath that, you will have the algorithm, the recipe for how you will accomplish making lasagna, the steps you will follow when the day of the party arrives, the steps you will actually follow to make that lasagna. And then on the day of the party, you will look at those steps and follow them to produce an implementation. The specifications document is the creation of those steps. Everything that you're going to need to follow for the implementation, but not the implementation itself. So that means you need to dictate any technologies you're going to use. So for instance, like a registration process or something like that. If you say, well, my app is going to have a way for the user to register an account. Okay, well, that's going to have to start with a decision of what technology you're using for authentication. Are you writing your own? If you are, how? If you're not, if you're using a third party, if you're using Parse or Firebase or whatever to do authentication, fine. Mention this is a technology I'm going to use. Maybe put a couple of links where their documentation is, and then say, here are the steps you take to register a user with Parse, for example. And they could be high-level steps. You could say, well, for Parse, first you create a PF user for the username and password. Then you ask that PF user to go ahead and register the user in the background. If it was successful, then we might, then I'll take them back to the login page. Something like that. Go ahead.
So, for my project, I'm learning more. I could pretty much create like a class schedule almost that I would stick to on almost like a day-to-day kind of thing.
Yeah, so with yours being, kind of security protocols and stuff like that, you're in your list, you say, here are the various tools we're going to look at. And then for your requirements for each of those tools, here are the things that you are going to be teaching. Okay, here are the 3 things I'm going to show for this tool.
Right.
Now you're going to say, this is how I will show for this. These are the steps I will take to actually show how this tool can be applied to this requirement. What else?
So I always like to shoot you
Good.
Pictures?
Proud of you.
Bring cooked legs. What? You bring cooked legs?
It's just one leg. Just one cooked leg. And was it even cooked? It was probably somewhat cooked.
We're going to put it on a spit
All right, what else? So have we all gotten a pretty good start on the specifications document? So our plan is we'll meet on Tuesday to get the ball rolling, and we'll talk about, okay, now specifications documents are done. I'll have them graded by Tuesday night, and then we're going to start our implementation. So we won't meet on Thursday next week, and then really we won't meet again until we meet again. So there'll be announcements when we have to get back together, and we'll do it a couple different times. We'll do some practice presentations. We might do some progress presentations. So maybe one week we will meet for one day where everybody gets up and does a 5-minute pitch for their current progress. which is your opportunity to embarrass yourself if you haven't done anything.
Where does that fall into the grade?
It's worth 100% of your grade.
So we don't have to do anything else with that.
Well, unless I give you a 0 on it.
Worth 100% if you give us a 0, otherwise it's worth nothing.
It's kind of whatever I say. What it comes down to.
So those will be communicated through Slack.
Yep. Yep, communicated through Slack. I would encourage you, though, if you, as you're working on your project, to schedule meetings with me as often as you find that helpful. To sit down and look at your project and talk about your implementation to keep you on track or to make sure you're going the right direction. Or if you ran into a problem and you want to know what would I do, would you remove this feature and replace it with something else? Or do you have an idea how I can fix this? Something like that. Take advantage of that resource, because we're not meeting in class, but we're mostly not meeting in class, not just give you class time. We're not meeting in class because there's 20 different projects going on at the same time. So class isn't a productive time to help everybody. So that means when you need help, you and I need to meet directly to talk about your project, the specifics of your project. That make sense? Go ahead.
So for going over, like, as you put down in the requirements document, the different functionalities that people have in their project. When you're going through your specifications document, outlining what you're going to do to solve that problem, what if you get to a functionality where you are unsure of what you need to do in order to solve it?
Well, that's part of the process of the specifications document, is to do some research to give you a starting point for that. Figure out, well, here's the 3 technologies I could use. I'm going to pick this one. If you have a rationale, great, put it down. If you don't, and you just randomly picked one, well, I'm not saying you're absolutely 100% married to it, but the idea is that if you spend the time now on the specifications document to get a pretty good game plan in place, then when you actually go to implement it and you're just using your specifications document as a paint by number, the project should go more smoothly, as opposed to you getting halfway through the project, then realize that you never really thought about something and half the stuff you've done now is not compatible with the thing that you need to use to solve it, because you just jumped feet first into the project. What else? Going once. Going twice. All right. I will see everybody on Tuesday, and you should have your specifications documents turned in before class time. Sound good?